Okay guys, and welcome back to another Student Questions Answered lecture. Now this question relates to the choose function and the choose function in isolation. Now you'll remember back in the building a database section where I showed you how to do a VLOOKUP utilizing choose to look up values from the left of the lookup value. But the student question was how do you use choose in isolation? Well, in its simplest form, what choose does is it allows you to choose, helps if you type equals in front of a formula. There you go, there's your first lesson of the day, Alan. Right, so what we have is a few different arguments. We have the index number, and what that means is which of the following values, the next arguments, am I to pick. So that's basically which of the values am I going to pick. So if I chose 1 and hit comma, then I get to value 1, 2, 3, and I think it can go to about 254. So I could easily type quotes apples, comma, quotes oranges, comma, quote pears, but I'm just going to point to these cells, hit comma, comma, and close off the brackets. So here I have three values, N4, which is apples, N5, which is oranges, N6, which is pears, and I'm choosing number 1. So that will be N4 apples. Now obviously if I change that to number 3, then it would select the third value, N4, 5, N6, and give us pears. So in its simplest form, that's what it does. So in this lecture there's going to be 4 quick demonstrations of a few different ways to use the choose function. Now the one thing that I use it for more than anything else, particularly when doing financial reporting, is being able to display the fiscal quarter and then build that and eventually create a fiscal year and quarter, as you can see at the end here where we have F14, fiscal 14, quarter 4, F15, quarter 1, and so on and so forth. So down here we've just got a bunch of dates from January 25th 2015 through to December 29th 2016. So ultimately I would just use this N formula, but I want to show you the steps I went through to build it. So the first thing we have to do is extract the month's number from this date. So I'm just going to use the built-in Excel function month and point to this cell here. So when I hit enter I get 1 because January is the first month. Now what I'm going to do is utilize this value in this formula. So I'm saying choose, have a look at B1 and tell me what value is in there, and in this instance it's 1, and then I'm pointing to this table here. Now in the UK the financial year runs April through March, so we don't have quarter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3. What we actually have is quarter 1 is April, May, June, quarter 2 June, July, August, quarter 3 is October, November, December, and quarter 4 of this financial year will be January, February and March of next year. So this is a really good use for it. So what I've done, let me just hit F2, I have pointed to B2, which gives us the month's index number, and then I just have I'm just pointing to these values here. So here I have L4, L5, L6, which represent quarter 4, and so on and so forth. And just as easily you could, instead of saying L4, we could just say 4, 4, 4, then 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, and 3, 3, 3, just to give us those 12 values to pick from. So that now says that this January is in quarter 4. So we've chosen the first index of this list here. So that's where we're getting our 4 from. Now in this formula, all I've done is I've taken this formula, month A4, and I've dropped it here over the B4. So replace the cell reference with the actual formula we used in that cell, and that will give us this formula, choose month A4, comma, and then we're looking down this table here. Okay, so far so good. Now I think that one's a redundant one. Let me just delete that, and hopefully that's not going to make everything awful. Now if you want to add the letter Q to the front of that, it is literally as simple as typing equals quotes Q quotes and, which is essentially concatenating, and then the formula we just looked at. So now we can return the value Q4, Q4, Q1, Q1, so on and so forth. Okay, fiscal year. Now the fiscal year is a little more tricky because we have a logic to apply. What I've done is I said F and. So that's going to give us our F right up the front. But we do have to do a test. So what we want to say is, if E4, this date here, equals Q4 here, then what we want to do is take the year and subtract 1. Now here I am saying I just want the right two numbers from this particular year. So write two numbers. So instead of saying 2015, it will say 15. Instead of saying 2016, it will say 16. But if it's Q4, subtract 1 from either 15 or 16. If it isn't Q4, then the actual year is the same as the financial year, and that's where we get our F14 or F15 or F16 from. Now here what I've done, I have replaced the A4 value with the formula that lives in A4. Where are we? There. So here I'm just basically taking the formulas that I've used earlier and incorporating them into one big formula. And then the last thing I'm going to do at the very end is join the two of them together. So I have the first formula that gives me the financial year, and then I'm going to say and then I'm just going to add that choose formula that we use to establish the months. And then when I hit escape, I get F14, Q4, F15, Q1, and that works perfectly. Okay, so that's one use for it, for finding the fiscal year and the fiscal quarter. Now, not only can you reference values, you can also have different formulas as your values. So here I have a really simple table. We have half a dozen people, what their salary is and what their salary band is. And in this table we say salary band equals a bonus of 10%, salary band 2 is 20%, salary band 3 is 30%. So here I've just built a simple VLOOKUP to say look for John and tell me which band is in. So if I typed in here Rita, ignore the casing, Rita is band 1. This is a VLOOKUP to tell me what her salary is, and here we're using the choose function. We're going to look at B11, which is the band, so that gives us choice number 1, and then we're going to use a formula. What we're going to say is C11, her salary, times 0.1, because she is on 10%. So we're actually using a formula as the first value there. Now if this band was 2, the choose would become 2, and now we have a different formula. So now we have C11, her salary, times 0.2, which is going to give her a 20% bonus. And lastly, we have the final formula that says if this says 3, so choose is 3, choose the third formula, which will be C11, her salary, multiplied by 0.3, which is 30%. So if we tested that out, let's say Matthew, so Matthew there, Matthew's a band 2, his salary is 25,000, and we are choosing the second of our options because B11 equals 2, and we're looking at that formula there, C11 times 20%, and you can see that that works out correctly. Okay, so that's how you can use formulas in the choose function. Now here what we're going to do is we're going to apply another function, the sum function, to the choose. So what we have, if I move out the way, we have 3 columns of data. We have all of our sales, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 in 2014, 2015, 2016. Now just for reference, 2014 is value 1, 2015 is value 2, 2016 value 3. So this is the cell where I'm looking, so I'm going to say here 2014. And what that's going to do is say VLOOKUP B9, the year we've just typed in here, in this table just here, and return the second value. So what this is going to do is look at 2014 here, straight VLOOKUP, and retrieve the second value, which is going to give us the index of 1. Okay, so far so good. So now we know we are choosing 1. Now to all of our 3 values, B2 to B5, C2 to C5, and D2 to D5, we want to apply the sum function. So what we're going to say is sum, then we're going to choose which of the 3 values we want to look at, and then we're actually going to apply the sum function to either this range, or this range. So 2014 is 275,279. If I just hover over that and have a look down here, you can see that's exactly correct. If I type 2015, we're now going to choose the second column to sum. And when I hit enter, 292172, and if I just drag over that, there you go, 292172, and if I type 2016 and hit enter, boom, there you go, we get 207,495, which I'm guessing must be about right. There you go, 207,495. Okay, so that's another thing that you can use it for. You can actually use it to sum or average or medium or mode any particular column of numbers depending on what the choose value is. Okay, and now just for fun, here's another one. Random name picker. Now basically I'm going to use the rand between to establish what number I'm going to get, what the index number will be. So rand between 1, 3 will just randomly create a number between 1 and 3, and when I hit F9 that will recalculate, and here I've actually typed the three values. So I have Emma in quotes, comma, Rita, comma, Sue. All the values are in quotes. So choose a random number between 1 and 3 and then return if it's 1 Emma, if it's 2 Rita, if it's 3 Sue. So there, if I hit calculate now, if I hit F9 it will stop recording. If I hit calculate now, you can see that that's rotating through them. Now, as I say, you can have 254 different values in your choose argument, and if you've only got a couple, it's reasonably easy to actually just type them in quotes. But if you have, like, I don't know, 100 of them, that's going to become pretty tedious. So what I'm going to do is show you a clever way to take this range and convert it into a string that looks a little bit like this, so you can just do the formula, a little bit of jiggery pokery, and then you can just type it over here. So here is the formula. What we have is concatenate, because we are joining all of these individual values together, and we are going to say transpose the range A1 through A8. So we have Emma, Rita, Sue all the way down to John. So we are transposing, that is, we're going from the vertical plane to the horizontal plane. And now, because we need quotes between at the end of each word and at the beginning of each word, we're going to add the ASCII character, which is CHR34, and that is double quotes. And so we have double quotes and comma and double quotes again. Now that's part of the formula. What we want to do is highlight all of this part here from transpose all the way over to the last but one bracket, and then we're going to hit F. Okay, the slight technical hitch there. Apparently if I hit F9 while I am recording, then the F9 on the recording software takes over from Excel. So what we want to do is transpose or highlight from transpose all the way over to the last but one bracket there. So we have transpose A1 through A8 and character 34 and comma and character 34 again, and then we're going to hit F9. And why is that not working again? This is just impossible. Hit F9. Ah, there we go. Sorry, I have no idea what was going on there. So when I hit F9, that actually converts this range into something that looks like this. Now all we're going to do is do a little bit of cleanup. We're going to delete the first curly bracket and we're going to delete the second curly bracket and then hit enter. So that's going to give us something that looks like this. Now as you can see in the formula bar, we have this in here, which are basically extra quotes. But if I right click, whoops, come off of that, if I right click, copy, right click, paste values, you can see that it actually eliminates that. So now all we need to do, add a quote at the front for Emma and delete the last two parts there. So now we have our full string. So now we can just copy that, hit escape, come over to here and replace all of this with the full list. And now I can say how many people have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I can now say round between 1 and 8. So there when I hit F9, which isn't going to pause the recording, you can see that that is randomly selecting someone from that list. Okay, so there you go. I hope that made sense. As always, any questions, just drop it in the Q&A or send me a message and I'll be happy to help. Have a great day. Thank you.